Good morning, everyone. This is Diane Ventura-Goodyear, District Governor of District 5500. Welcome, everyone, to the 2020 Survival Workshop for Clubs. Yay!
Yay.
This is the first time we put an event on like this in our district. This concept revolves around the three essential elements. First one being foundation, which sometimes we call that service, membership, and brand associated with public image. It's illustrated in the graphic on your agenda and on the district website. I'm so happy to see all you this morning. Welcome. We're going to have examples of how other clubs are adapting in today's environment and how clubs have decided on projects and fundraisers that were very successful. We hope we have many club leaders present today, and we're extremely happy to have all members from Rotary clubs attending, as well as from the zone. Our presenters are going to talk about collaboration with other Rotary clubs, which I am actually encouraging this year, and the possibility of partnering with other charitable organizations in the community. When I started my year, I had wanted our district to think outside the box. And I'm happy to say that many of our clubs are doing just that today. Your existing fundraisers and projects may look different this year. They may need to be molded in a different way, but they will be successful, and I'm sure of it. I have no question about it. So here's the word for the day: adaptability. Adaptability. This could be a test later. We will share real-time experiences from other clubs to help you get ideas for your club projects and fundraisers. As you know, many clubs are now looking at virtual fundraisers. This is a very different year, a year having to adjust to new technologies and doing things differently. If you've not already heard, there is a list of online virtual platforms available on zone2627.org. I'll say that again, zone2627.org website. And it's going to help clubs to move forward in the virtual environment. This information was gathered from many districts in our zone to help clubs move forward in planning virtual activities. I personally have discovered by talking to other districts and other clubs that virtual events do not have the typical overhead associated with in-person events. What that means is donations will go straight to the bottom line. By the way, our district is in process of negotiating with a vendor for all our 50 clubs to utilize, and I'll have more information later this week. I'm also would like to mention that I want to thank everyone on the Training and Planning Committee. It's headed up by Ann Huber. Ann, do you want to give a wave? A little wave there? There you go. This committee consists of PDG Terry Bergman. Where are you, Terry? PDG Michael Drake. PDG Joe Henches. Ray Naylor. Hank Husking. Joyce Finkelstein. Barbara Barr. And of course, our district administrator and registrar, Liz Cohn, as well as Anita McDonald, who's going to be our moderator today. Hello, Anita.
Good morning.
Wave. We need a wave. There you go. I'm going to ask everyone to please take notes and make a point of reporting them back to your club. We anticipate there will be time for you to ask questions of the presenters and also of other club members. Our intention, however, is to conclude the workshop at 11:30 as we promised. Now, I do have some rules and some housekeeping. So, first and foremost, cell phones turned off. Home phone ringers turned off. Make sure your entire face is on the screen. We want to see your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. So maybe you might have to sit on top of a pillow. Be sure you're on mute throughout the entire presentation. We have a large group and background noise can be extremely disruptive. If you need to leave for any reason or you want to stand up and stretch, that's absolutely fine. We're okay with that. but please turn off your video. If you're using a mobile device, aim your camera at your face. So, aim it at your face. We've had some very interesting situations there, all I'm saying. Try not to move around, and if you do need to move around, be sure that your video is turned off. This can be very distracting to the speakers. We're only going to use chat today for all the questions and comments. Make sure you send them privately to Terry. However, if you have some questions or comments for branding or public image, you need to send them to Ray Naylor. If for any reason you get logged out of Zoom, and that does happen sometimes, just go back to the original link on the original email and sign in again. It's called a glitch, and it happens. If your internet at your location, wherever you are, goes down, reach for your smartphone. Be sure that you turn on your hotspot for the network, or call in the meeting using the phone numbers that Liz provided in the original email. Last but not least, if you've logged into the meeting using your smartphone, please be sure you're muted. There's a lot of static that comes from cell phones. Okay, I feel like a principal here. That's enough of that. Let's move forward with this workshop. We've spent many months trying to organize this workshop, and we hope we can provide the information you need for your clubs to move ahead. If you have additional questions after the workshop, please email them to any of us on the team, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. On Sunday, Ann will be providing a survey for everyone. Please take the time to fill out the survey. It's really important. It helps our team to shape further workshops. So, sit back, enjoy, take some notes, and I'm now going to turn this over to Anita McDonald. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Good morning, everyone. Everyone's got their coffee and all set to go and had their breakfast. Okay, because I think you're in for a great morning. I have the privilege of serving as the moderator for the panel, and you'll be hearing about projects from our newest club to our more seasoned clubs this morning. And we all know how we enjoy talking about our projects, but unfortunately this morning, we're not going to have time to let people just go on and on about what they're doing. So I don't know why they asked me to be the taskmaster. I don't know if that's because they heard something from my family or something, but at any rate, it's going to be my responsibility to try and keep everything on time as much as possible. We're allotting approximately 20 minutes per presentation, and that includes their presentation and questions. And questions will be taken after each of the presentations. So you'll be doing that on the chat, and at some point we'll have to cut that. Now, if you don't have your question answered, as Diane mentioned, just route the questions or we will capture them on the chat and get back to you so that you will get answers to whatever it is that you would like to know. So with that, I would suggest that you might go down right this moment and find Terry Bergman's name in the list of participants and have it all set to go so that when Bill begins his presentation and you have questions, you'll start putting your questions in the chat box. And then Terry will be, I will ask Terry to share your question with all of us here. So with that, I would first like to introduce Bill Regenhart from the Yuma Rotary Club. And Bill, the floor is yours, and I am keeping time. Welcome. Bill, you're still on mute.
Thank Thank you for letting me know that. So good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Hopefully, I won't even come close to 20 minutes on this, but please feel free to stop me anytime during the presentation, ask any questions that you may have. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here with y'all, and hopefully you'll be able to see that. We're getting pretty good at this Zoom stuff, so hopefully everything works out okay.
There it goes.
Yeah. So okay. I put together a couple of slides for y'all, just so you have an idea of what we are doing. And let me start this from the beginning. Here we go. Everybody can see that, I hope. So today I'm going to talk about the Walt Kamen annual sausage fry that we do here in Yuma every year. This year is going to be a little different, so we'll talk about that as we go along. This is a tradition, and it started with one of our Rotarians and prominent citizens, Walt Kamen. His grandson, Jeff Kamen, is in our Rotary Club still. And he is very active with this event, as well as all the other events that we do where we provide Kamen sausage. Kamen sausage is now considered a staple for a lot of families here, and it is sold by one of the butcher shops, meat markets here and around the valley. So the Walt Kamen annual sausage fry is a little over 60 years old. So it started in 1958 and has been going strong ever since. Rain, shine, wind, hail, snow, if we ever got any in Yuma, it would still go on. So here's a shot of one of our members. He's actually our former city attorney, Steve Moore, and he is one of our chefs out there. When we start cooking, he's always one of the first to sign up. It's one of his favorite things to do. The event is really one of the winter season's most popular social gatherings here in Yuma. It is so popular that it actually made the visitor's guide. So that upper left-hand corner picture that you see, top things to do in Yuma this weekend, it makes it every year. The Yuma Visitors Bureau actually promotes it for us. So that's a great thing. Traditionally, what we did is we would hold it in a larger arena or a larger venue. The Civic Center has been where we've held it the last few years. Every year we put out about 800 seats in the venue, and we have concerts. We have silent auction or live auction items, and you know, it's a good event that goes on for several hours, and we even had a sausage eating contest and crown the sausage king or queen every year. We do about 3,000 pounds of sausage, so 1.5 tons of meat goes on those grills. We have several grills. If you can see the cooks there in the bottom picture, we usually have 4 of those wagons set up, those trailers set up, and so they start cooking early in the day, and it just goes on all day throughout the night. So we do a lot of sausage. This year is going to be a little bit different. Well, it's going to be a lot different because we've had to pivot. So really, marketing is the key for us. So we've already started the flyer on the far left of the screen there. December 4th is our date this year. We are doing drive-through only, and we are pre-selling tickets through our website, yumarotary.org. do get a lot of press, a lot of earned media throughout the build up to this. So we actually start, we actually started about a week and a half ago on the promotion side. And then as we get to about 3 weeks out, we'll start with our radio and TV spots. And those are all invites. So we send out a press release. It goes to, all the media outlets, and then we start promoting it. This year, we're doing a lot more social media as well. The sausage eating contest, that flyer in the middle, Ready, Set, Sausage, we are not going to have that this year, unfortunately. So last year's winner is just going to have to hold on to the crown. And then we are still going to have it at the Yuma Civic Center, but it's just going to look way different this year. So what we're doing is we're having drive-through only. And because we had set up a drive-through a few years back and it became very popular, we still had a huge turnout inside with the bands and the social gathering stuff. But we started the drive-through because people wanted to basically pick up their stuff and go. And so that became very popular. So what we're going to do this year is we're going to do 2 lanes. So the traffic that we get through that drive-through, just with the 1 lane, really wrapped around from the Civic Center all the way out to one of the main avenues and then around. So a lot of times people were waiting in line for 20, 30 minutes just to come through and get their dinners. This year, last year we expedited that a lot. We had a whole expediting crew, so we've learned how to speed that process up. This year, that's just going to be refined even more. What we are also doing, because we're not going to have any extracurricular activities along with the sausage fry drive-through, we thought about doing a movie night. The city volunteered to put all that together, but logistically, it just wasn't going to work, and it would have taken a lot more bodies for us to do it. So we've decided this year to just stick with the 2 drive-throughs, keep it simple, do much more promotion to get people through the drive-through. And we're also selling T signs. So as you can, the slide on the right there, we'll have T signs and sponsorships. We already have, those are going to be $100 a piece. We already have over $1,000 in T signs sold. And as Diane said, those are being donated. The signs are being donated, so that goes right to our bottom line. We won't have the overhead cost of the indoor facility. We won't have overhead costs associated with bands that we normally have. So the savings is really going to help our bottom line as well. And that's pretty much it as far as this event. This event goes live on December 4th. And, if you're in the area, we would love to see you. We will be posting lots of pictures. We're going to be doing Facebook Live as well. So several Facebook Live posts as the event is going on. And start promoting, any other things that we have in the works. So with that, I'd also like to say, I'm wearing my Rotarian at Work shirt today because we're doing a huge project. We are painting one of the newer schools. It's the Gowan Science Academy. It is a STEM school. They started up, the idea for the school is they want to go from K through 12 eventually. Now they're K through 8. But as a STEM school, it has grown exponentially over the past couple of years. They've moved from sharing a space in another school to now having their own school. but they really don't have much. And with all the budget cuts and everything, we decided to step up and help them out. So we are painting their walls of the entire school, and interior walls, putting up bookcases because they don't have a library. So we're going to be putting up bookcases along the hallways with some floating shelves as well. So we have about 23,000 square feet of wall space that we're trying to paint in 2 days, which is a big chore. So we started last Saturday. This Saturday, today is our last day. We're probably going to bleed over till tomorrow, just because there's a lot to do. But we've had some phenomenal people step up to the plate. We have a new Ace Hardware here in town. And, you know, we are really big on wearing our Rotary pins out in the community. So when I went to meet the new business in town, since I'm on the chamber board here, he saw my pin. He says, "Hey, you're a Rotarian." I'm a Rotarian. So he's a Rotarian in the Phoenix area. And we started talking. I started telling him about this project and how, you know, we're not quite over our heads, but, you know, I got a snorkel. So because it's, you know, that's kind of what we need at this point. And he says, "How can I help?" And so he basically stepped up to the plate and gave us almost $2,000 worth of supplies, just, you know, for being a Rotarian. So I thought that was pretty great.
Great.
With that, I'll take any questions that you got.
Okay, Bill.
Hey, Bill, we got a couple of questions for you.
Terry.
One is from Michael Drake. He wants to know if you used the event as an opportunity to involve and recruit new members into your club.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, Yuma is really good about people volunteering, stepping up and wanting to get involved. And because we have, it's very transient sometimes, because you have, you know, the military bases, YPG, MCAS is here. So you got people coming and going there. But, you know, when they, and now we're getting more people from California moving here. So, you know, that exodus from California is, you know, helping the people up in, you know, the great state of Maricopa, but it's also helping us too here in Yuma. So we are getting a lot of people wanting to get plugged in right away. And we're using that at every opportunity. So.
And then one other question, then I think Anita's going to have some questions for you. Do you have to pay for the radio and TV announcements that you got, or do you get those free?
No, those are, you know, it's what's called earned income. So basically, once that press release goes out, you know, we'll have everybody giving us a call and trying to schedule those. We have paid for some spots periodically, but now with social media, I think we'll probably boost that a lot more. And you know, we're still getting plenty of airtime, so and print.
Great. Well, Bill, I was wondering, first of all, can I get in the line first on no, but I was wondering, how much do you all make from this event?
This event will probably net us between 12 and 15,000.
Okay. And
it's that
go
type
ahead.
of.
Okay. And how do you use those funds? What are you raising the funds for?
Well, you know, my boat needed a lot of work, so, you know, I had to do that. It goes right to our scholarship fund. So a lot of the stuff that we do goes for that. We have, you know, the scholarships they still go on regardless of whether or not, you know, our fundraisers are still going on. So thankfully you know, our foundation is funded pretty well. So we've been blessed in not really having too many pains on the financial end. This has been, you know, a great year to be president, right? Because you have to really figure out how you're going to use those finances and be a good steward. So.
Well, it was really great that you were wearing your pin. I guess it's a lesson for all of us, for sure.
Absolutely.
In the process. On the project that you're doing with the school, I think when we were chatting, you also mentioned that you received some grant funds, district grant funds for that. Is that
We
correct?
did. So it's a $10,000 project. So we did our 5,000. The RI put in the 5,000, or the district put in the 5,000. So we had a good match there. So it worked out really, really well. And I think we'll we may have some savings there. It's like we didn't really plan on the walls eating up so much paint, and so we did our best in trying to figure out that. But none of us are painting contractors, so.
Oh, great. Well, you're doing a terrific job. How many members are in your club, by the way?
Well, on our books we have 103. Some of those, yeah. So we're always trying to figure out exactly where we are. The nice thing is we had just in the last couple of months, since July, we've had 8 new members. So
Terrific. That is absolutely terrific.
that's a big plus. But we've also had a couple that that left us because they got transferred or whatever. So we're still net positive. That's a good thing.
That's a very good thing. And, that's what happens. People do move around, but we're Rotarians wherever we go, and we're bringing in new people. That's wonderful. Terry, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, we got a few new ones. Do you have the date set for 2021 yet?
For 20, it's always that first weekend in December.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's always that day, whatever that day falls on. It's always the first weekend in December.
And then one person wants to know if you've ever thought about trying to partner with an artisan mustard maker.
Artisan mustard? No, that has not crossed my mind. That's great though. I mean, that's a nice thought. That's a great thought.
Well, if someone knows one, I guess you should put that in the chat. Send it to me.
We actually do partner with Wholesome Bakery though for our rolls.
Do you have a person who's dedicated to doing the social media, or how in general, how do you establish your contacts there?
Yeah, that's what I do for a living. So most of that stuff will either run through Jen, who also sets up all of our speakers. She's our club secretary. She's really on one of those social media channels, and then we'll fill in the other channels as we see fit. But there's far too many media channels out there, social media channels out there to cover everything. So we hit the major ones, and and try and keep our website up to date and things like that.
In addition to serving the community, does this event strengthen your club, and if so, how?
It's a very hands-on event. So and people love it. We sent out the sign-up sheet, and it was filled within the first 3 days. Naturally, everybody wants to cook because you can be outside and drink beer while you're cooking sausage. So that's usually the first spots that go. And clean up is the last spots to go. It's not it's like any event that you guys do when you're setting up too. So all the fun jobs will usually get taken up. But we have our Interact Club as well that's they step up, and this will be the first event that they're going to be doing this year to be able to get the kids out. So that's they've been really struggling. We tried to get them involved in the painting project, and they just they couldn't do it because of social distancing and challenges like that. So yeah.
Okay, I think we're good to move on, Anita.
Cool.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you very much, Bill. That was very, very good.
Thank you all.
Okay. If you think of other questions for Bill, you can, just keep jotting them down. And if we have time near the end, we'll be able to go back to him as well. Next, I'd like to introduce Jim Rusk from the Valle Verde Rotary Club. And we're going to hear a little bit about jazz in the desert. Or are we going, well, okay. There we go. Okay, Jim, the floor is yours. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, let's see. I've been a Rotarian since 1985, and this is my third club, and I've been with Vive Verde Rotary Club since 2005 when we relocated to Green Valley, and I've had all kinds of positions with it. And for the last few years, after being club president, I'm the head of the foundation, and I've been directly involved with Jazz in the Desert since 2014. And to get into Jazz in the Desert, and if we could, I don't know, I can't move the slide, so if somebody could move those for me, Charlotte, I don't know, or whoever can go to the next slide, we can get started on.
Just indicate, Jim, when you want to move to the next. Okay.
Okay, and then go on to the next one. Okay, and my initial presentation is based on those questions that the committee asked. So our charts are set up along those to answer those particular questions. So we'll go on to the next slide. And, you know, how did we come up with the idea? Well, all clubs are desperate to find a major fundraiser, and we were in that position back in 2010. A number of our fundraisers had kind of run their course, and fortunately, a club member who was involved, who had musical interest, connected with the musical director at Great Expectations Academy, whose mother happened to own and run Great Expectation Academy. So the stars were starting to line up. We added and ended up that first year with 3 schools. We used a venue over at one of the Green Valley locations, centers, and we sold pizza by the slice. We went to Papa Murphy's Pizza and cooked them in the ovens and sold them by the slice. But as time went on, we expanded that, and I think we can go to the next slide real quick. And this is the question on how it was funded. Well, initially, it was a club event. We basically supported it by going to the event, paying, buying things, and we started a silent auction. And then the biggest change in our whole event was we discovered the word sponsor. And sponsors, we were able to aggressively go after sponsors. And to give you an example, last year we netted $33,000 on the events, and 60% of those monies came from sponsors. So it's for anybody out there that's looking at a project or anything, don't forget sponsors. It's extremely important. We've got a loyal group of sponsors, and as we produce, as the Jazz in the Desert has gotten more sophisticated and more involved, those sponsors have been very loyal over years. Let's go on to the next slide, I think. Publicity. Very little publicity to start off with. Probably the key event for us, and continues to be a key event for us, is the support of our local radio station, KGVY. We do go out with press releases, and on a rare occasion, we will get coverage by the local newspapers. But KGVY has helped us search for sponsors, has run contests for free tickets or for the performances and stuff like that. Now Jazz in the Desert has expanded to, well, we're up to, we have a matinee, and then we have a dinner performance. And unfortunately, like everybody else, we've had to cancel. Next year, our Jazz in the Desert 12 was scheduled for March 6, 2021. We've had to cancel it for a couple of reasons. One, we're unsure if our venue, which was the clubhouse at Quail Creek that allowed us to have 330 people in for dinner, the situation on when and if that venue will open due to the impact of the virus is still up in the air. And then probably more critical is that the school system is so muddled that the schools are not sure if they're going to even be able to put together jazz ensembles or what stage of development they'll be in. And we decided that it was in the best interest of everybody to go ahead and cancel our live performances. And we announced that just the other day through a big article in the KGVY Quarterly newspaper. So, and I'm deviating a little bit from the script, but since it's been brought up, what are we going to do to try to cover it? How are we going to get involved or think out of the box? Well, this is what we're doing. We're going to have what we call Jazz in the Desert Reimagined. And what this is going to be is and I love to call it a non-event event. It's a basic down and dirty plea for donations to help us continue to support the music programs and other projects that the club will work on. So we're in the process of, we're putting together invitations and individuals, and I think a few of you will, in mid-November, will be receiving invitations to an event which highlights what Jazz in the Desert has been able to do over the past 11 years. And then also it's soliciting donations. We've set up where you can respond directly from the invitation, or you can go to a website and make your donation online through our website. We have also established sponsors, and we're in the process of collecting sponsors, and the levels run anywhere from 1,000 down to 250. And we're in the process of going to businesses, collecting those sponsorships. We've collected $3,000 or $4,000 are in the bank already. This effort will take place after the election. We want to make sure the post office is clear from all of its extra work. And so we'll get our invitations in the mail on or about the 10th of November. And then we'll sit back and hope that the response from the community will help us offset the loss of the funds that we're going to experience in 2021. A little bit of background on one of the questions. I think you can go to the next one about the community. Supporting the project. One point I want to make off of this slide is, and I think it's key for any project that you get involved with, is your club needs to come up, and I'd love to use the term pride of ownership. Many of us have owned private businesses, and we all know that if we're the owner, we're the best ones to promote our business, to work that overtime that's necessary to make that business go. Well, if you can get your members to take over that pride of ownership of the project, it works so much better, and we've been able to accomplish that in the club. everybody wants to make it a success. Everybody is willing to put in either time or funds or whatever is necessary to make the project a success. And then the final slide, what do we do and how does a community work? Well, with the proceeds over the past 11 years, we've redistributed over $100,000 back to the music programs along the I-19 corridor. The Jazz in the Desert involves high school and middle school jazz ensembles located from Sahuarita down to Nogales. So we bring in the entire I-19 corridor in this process. And of course, it funds beyond what we give back to the schools. We also use in here a couple of the projects that we're involved with. We also have made an effort to bring Jazz in the Desert to our assisted living facilities. We give out free tickets to the assisted living for our matinee performance. We find that those folks are the dinner and that part gets a little too long for them, but they enjoy the matinee performance. We've also, a couple of years, we've been able to live stream the projects into the assisted living facilities here in Green Valley. And from a community point of view, this has proven to be very important. It also helps us when we go to businesses and ask for their support as a sponsor. We also we get our Interact kids involved. We advertise that you get free popcorn at the matinee, and our Interact members are running around delivering popcorn to all the people during that particular event. One last thing, and I imagine whoever gave me the idea is watching this, and I don't remember, but somebody threw out the ideas saying, don't be afraid to ask for funds. Well, we took that literally, and we developed what we call the pink envelope. And during our project, and for us, during our dinner break, we show videos of all of the projects that we've been involved with. And then we have pink envelopes laying on all the tables, and we solicit donations and allow the participants or the attendees to directly say, well, I want to support Dress for Success, or I want to support the Fisher House, or I want money for the scholarship. And last year we picked up over $2,500 just that one evening from individuals seeing the types of projects that we do and being willing to support those projects. So I would suggest to everybody out there, no matter what your project is, don't be afraid to ask for additional funds from the people that are attending your events. And with that, I think I'm done. So any questions?
Very good. Jim, I can't imagine the community not supporting your event coming up. All of the activities and support you've been giving to the community over the years, I suspect they're going to do their best to respond to your request and moving forward. And I look at all of the things that you've been doing, and a lot of marketing and public image goes into this, and they know your club. Do you have a person or a committee? And for this event, how is all of that handled?
Well, we initially started off rotating. We had this wonderful idea that the president-elect should be in charge of the event so that he could get to know the members of the club and that sort of a thing. Well, it finally got to be so large, and rather than having each new committee chair having to rework the process, we ended up establishing a set committee that basically operates year round, and I've been involved with that since for the last 6 years, and so that's my claim to fame. Club.
Well, I'm curious, do you use any of the materials that are provided by the Rotary International on the branding site? Or do you and have someone in your community doing some of that work, or?
No, quite frank, I think if we do, it's by accident. We kind of had set up our own system, as far as soliciting sponsors, and it's personal, one-on-one contact. Members of the club have business friends or members of or they do business with certain members, and so they do a direct appeal, and that's worked very well over the years. And I think the credibility that we've established over the years makes it an easier sell, so to speak. Now this year it's going to be entirely different because, other than offering them the opportunity to give us money, we're not going to be able to give them performances and a lot of public visibility that we would normally do in a live performance.
Right. Terry, do you have some questions for Jim?
I do. Do you have different levels of sponsorship? And if so, what do you offer them to buy into your event?
Well, we to partner for a live event, our partnership is $3,500 and works down. And there are various perks that go along with those. Free tickets are one of the perks, and then we recognize the sponsors during our radio spots on KGVY, and we do a T-shirt, and we do all kinds of different things like that, and then also have them on our social media events. The Jazz in the Desert Reimagined that we're going to kick off, we've got 4 levels of sponsorships. One's a whole note for $1,000, a dotted half note at $750, a half note is $500, and a quarter note is $250. So that's how we're trying to build our sponsorships. And an example of a perk, if you're let's say a half note for $500, you get your name on the invitation. Your logo is on our T-shirt. Your poster that we'll put out to the various businesses. You'll get your name listed. Those sorts of things are the types of perks that go along with the levels of sponsorship.
Has your club thought about doing a virtual event somehow this year or not?
Well, we did, and the big stumbling block on that was the schools, because if you don't have performers, you can't have an event. And talking with the schools, and as we all know, the status of whether schools are back in session, what type of sessions, it's hard. So we abandoned that because of the hesitancy on the part of the schools to commit that they'll be able to have an ensemble, a jazz ensemble ready for that.
Do you have any recordings from past performances that you could put on a virtual platform?
We do have recordings, and when you get the invite and you go to the website, it will take you back and you can watch our performances on YouTube from 2018 and 2019. So we do have those, but right now we have our one and only plan is the non-event event, the Jazz Reimagined that we talked about earlier.
Do you have any licensing issues with live streaming the music or anything?
If we do, we're unaware of it.
Okay. All right. Somebody here says that. Oh, go ahead.
What we did with live streaming was we went to the Sahuarita High School, and they have a communications class, and they provided us students to help us set all this up, and so the students got some experience as well as the feed being going into the assisted living facilities. We did experience technical issues because some of the assisted living facilities did not have the capability to pick up the streaming for technical reasons. And don't ask me what those were because I don't have any idea, but there were a few issues there where it limited the number of facilities that we could stream to.
But all of your events have featured the high school musicians, right?
High school and middle school. And one of our biggest challenges is we have so many that want to get in, and the time is trying to manage the time and the number of schools. That's because there's a lot of middle schools out there that are starting their jazz ensembles. As a matter of fact, the Great Expectations Academy, which is a middle school, was the one of the founders of the event, and they do a wonderful job. The grandparents and parents get quite a charge out of seeing kids play instruments that are bigger than they are.
Okay, I think that's it, Anita.
Well, very, very good. Well, it sounds like an exciting project, and I like that Jazz Reimagined approach to it. I was wondering, what size is your club? And have you seen members coming in because of they see the involvement and the impact that your club is having on the community?
We're holding right around 45 members up and down. We've had some losses. We've had members pass away and a couple move away. I think our jazz and all of those things are important in retaining our members more than it is bringing in new members. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, very good. Well, we certainly appreciate you sharing with us today, and here's hoping that in 22 that you'll be able to bring it back.
There's an awful lot of questions out there, but I sure hope so.
Yes. Well, good. Well, I don't know if people want to just stretch their arms a minute, and then I'll introduce our next speaker. There goes the alarm. There is the timer going off. Very good. Our next speaker is going to be Sarah Pacheco, and Sarah is coming from our newest club. We're very proud of it's a satellite club that was sponsored by the Sierra Vista Club, and it's called the Sierra Vista Satellite Rotary Evening Club, and maybe she'll tell us a little bit more about that. But she's going to share with us her project serving the Navajo Nation. And Sarah, if you tell us a little bit about yourself and then introduce your project, please.
Okay. Hi, Anita. Thanks for having me. We are a new club. We just started, and we did this project actually we were still kind of getting organized as a club at the time, but right at the beginning of COVID, we were, along with everyone else, seeing what was going on with the Navajo Nation. If you want to go to the next slide. There you go. So I guess the first step in any project is to identify the need. And right at the beginning of COVID, it was April or so, we were seeing the impact on the Navajo Nation. That was just like everyone, and we were very concerned and wanted to do something to help. So if you want to go to the next slide. So, the first step is discuss with our club members and just make sure you have that buy-in from your club. We discuss with the club of the interest in doing something to help. And the thought was at the time there wasn't very many supplies available. And some of the local breweries and wineries were making hand sanitizer. And so the initial thought was, well, could we get a bulk order of hand sanitizer and get it up to the Navajo Nation from here because it's being produced here? Could we do that? So we did explore that at the very start, but turned out that it was going to be cost prohibitive. Right. And they didn't have a huge supply of it. There wasn't like a really bulk amount that would have made it worth it. But we did look into, we always ask that question, who's already doing this work and in what way do we have the capacity to meaningfully contribute to what they do? And so we did find a local church that was also supplying some supplies to the Navajo Nation, but they had already gone up, and so we couldn't support them. We decided to do our own drive. I have a connection in the Navajo Nation, and then a member of the Sierra Vista Rotary had a connection in the Navajo Nation. That's where we kind of explored those connections of how do we get it there and what supplies do they need. And the nation itself had put out a list of what they were looking for. So you want to go to the next slide? So we decided just to do a drive, and excuse me, we partnered with a local business to be a gathering point for supplies and put out the list of what the Navajo Nation was looking for. And we just advertised on Facebook and encouraged our members to also share on their Facebook pages, and then shared with all of the local Rotary clubs to encourage Rotarian support from all the different clubs. And when we showed up, there was such a huge response from the community. I mean, we were there for 3 hours and there were cars the whole time coming through to drop off supplies. People really, really responded and wanted to help as much as they could. So we filled an entire truck and trailer full to bursting with donations, all the way full. If you're going to go to the next slide. So then we partnered with, of course, our host club. He actually, Ken and our host club has a business in Taylor, Arizona. And so someone from the Navajo Nation Council met them in Taylor, Arizona, and they transferred the supplies to them there. And then the Navajo Community Health Program staff distributed to different members of the community. They were delivered by this council representative, and then the health program staff who knew the individuals in need and had that relationship. If you want to go to the next slide. So this is from the Navajo Nation council member that worked with us. Said some of the individuals that they delivered to live like 2 to 7 miles off of the road out in the country, and they're really isolated and didn't have access to supplies. And so that we were able to deliver, provide all of that, and then it got delivered to those individuals in need. I'm gonna go to the next one. I think that's it. That's all. It was just a supply drive, and that's what we did to try and help during COVID.
I'm sorry, I had to get myself off of mute there. I'm just so really impressed by the determination of the group to get those supplies there and to seek out partners and so forth to help them to do that, because we certainly know that it was one of the locations with highest incidence of COVID. So very, very significant project. Now, how did you come up with the funds to get all this together? And I mean, you got some donations and people participating and donating supplies and so forth, but there also took some hard cash, I'm sure.
Actually, we didn't really spend any cash as far as that goes. We kind of took a collection for gas and to get it up there, and then just asked the community to donate funds or donate items, and that was all that we did for that. So we didn't. It was just kind of a pass a hat thing, because the only money that we spent was, as a club, was to gas to get there.
Right. Well, you were still in you weren't quite in full club stage at the time, and so you couldn't seek a district grant to help you with that, or did Sierra Vista seek any assistance for you, the club? No.
No, we just asked members to pitch in.
Well, that's great. That's great. Now, I kept looking on some of those things that were sent out. I didn't see the Rotary logo on there, Sarah. Do you guys use it on your Facebook page and so forth? Do you have information out there about your new club now?
Yeah, we do now. We have a Facebook page now.
Well, good, good. Well, we want to keep that spirit that you have of serving the community and the involvement of your club members. And so there's so many resources that you're going to be learning about that are available to you from Rotary to help you accomplish those goals that you have. So Terry, do you have any questions for?
We have one. How did the club select which Native American group to support? And part of that question, are you near Native American lands that are seeking assistance, or how did you choose?
We are not located near any near the Navajo Nation, so that was a challenge to figure out. We're down in Sierra Vista, so it was quite a drive to get up there. I mean, you're talking 8-hour drive up there. I have a friend who's on the Navajo Nation Council near Window Rock, and then Ken Stickler had a friend who's on the Navajo Nation Council 24. And we ended up going with Ken's connection to the Navajo Nation, and we just asked, them who or how we could help, and Candy, the president of the Sierra Vista Rotary, also has a connection in the Navajo Nation. So we kind of all reached out to our friends who are Navajo Nation members and asked if they needed help and could we be of service. And so we just kind of went with the avenue that presented.
Thank you. I think that's all we've got, Anita.
It's very good. Do you have any, has your club been thinking about any projects now coming up for the future?
Yeah, we've done a few projects. We partnered with a nonprofit who wrote a grant for face masks, and we distributed 3,000 cloth face masks to the community to get face masks out so people could use masks during COVID. And then we did like a gratitude parade for the hospital.
Wow. Well, I tell you, we're very fortunate to have you on as a new club. You've got the Rotary spirit of serving your community, and you know, you'll have so many people around you to help you look at other ways in which you can find resources to continue that spirit. And so great, because that is quite a distance. I was very curious as how you see your
Also,
event up to the
they
Van-
met in between. They met in Taylor. So our members drove up to Taylor, and then the Navajo Nation, his friend who's on the council there, drove down to Taylor, and they met in between. And it also was about keeping people safe too, because we didn't also want to potentially expose our club members by having them go out there. So we want to keep our members safe too. So there's a balance you have to strike.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you very much, Sarah, for sharing your project with us, and continued success with all that your new club does. And we'll be looking forward to hearing more great things from you as we move forward. So, and now to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Paul Bennett. Paul Bennett is from the Catalina Rotary Club that's located in Tucson. And Paul, if you would introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your project.
Okie dokie. Everybody hear me? Somebody raise your hand, make sure it works. Hopefully it does. Catalina Club, second oldest club in Tucson. Been around since, I believe, 48. I've been in the club almost 20 years, watching different things happen. We've had a fairly long relationship with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Tucson. And I'll actually hats off to our moderator today. We finished funding a full scholarship at the Boys and Girls Club last year that Anita, when she was president of the club, started. So hats off to you, Anita. But we were looking probably 3 or 4 years ago at our strategic planning and figuring out what we really wanted to do as a club. Next slide, please. And the things that we've ultimately came up with, and historically we have done, is working with youth in the community. Some of our things that we've been funding youth on their own, the Boys and Girls Club, and basically any time we can go out and reach the little ones, the ones that are in help, that need help. We actually a couple years, 2 or 3 years ago, started a partnership with Integrated Touch for Kids, which is basically a way to help kids deal with issues and problems and pains, and how can we reach out and their families and basically help support things. So we've identified several projects. We raise money every year, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But we then look to figure out, what is a pretty good size or a larger type of project that we can put together. One of our signatures, this was several years ago, we built a special needs playground at Milagro Park. And it was several $100,000, but so it's not necessarily one thing, one job a year. Sometimes we'll save the money, help as we can, and then do a fairly large project, which you'll see this one was over a 2 or 3 year period. Next slide, please. What historically we have, and we have a little bit of an issue this year, we're waiting to try to figure out what goes on. We basically have been able to sell beer at the rodeo. We make money off of all the sales. We basically provide the manpower, the coordination in partnership with the Tucson Rodeo to sell the beers. We also have donations. We use flyers for the donations, and ultimately we've identified a charity of some sort of kids. It's been the Boys and Girls Club, or YODO, the past few years that the funds from just the donations go to for the tips. Usually that can range anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000, and we look to fund them to help them with things. Another piece that we look at, and we've done this for a couple of years in coordination with Conquistadors, we do the beer sales and collect tips at the Cologuard Golf Tournament. Interesting, this year we're just waiting to see what's really going to happen. We're worried concerning not only with the vintage and demographics of the club, how we will be able to support the beer sales in February, if in fact it does happen. I saw that the Winter Street Fair got canceled last week. And that's in December. We haven't really got a good firm update if they are going to run the rodeo. If they do run it, will it be at 50% or 25%? And also the suspicion is the Cologuard Golf Tournament this year is also scheduled the same weekend as the second weekend of the rodeo. If in fact it does happen, or you just see the seniors walk around on TV and play golf. I don't know that they will have, just again with those demographics. Another thing that we looked to do, because the funding for the project, it took basically a couple of years to work through. We had an internal club raffle basically to raise some additional money. We ultimately funded a project over a couple year period for about $50,000. If we go to the next slide, basically what it was is the Catalina Rotary Club demoed out and then helped with some of the rehab, and also worked with a contractor to reconfigure basically a multi-purpose space within the Boys and Girls Club that's on grant, so that it can do several different things of music, arts. It's got a little bit of a jazz studio in it, and things that the kids can actually come in and work on versus not, you just kind of, it's sitting there and not being as active and as focused. One of the big things we've done over time is that, if you're aware, TUSD does not really support the arts and that particular part of education as well as they could, or they've kind of cut back on those. So where do the kids go? Where do they have abilities to learn and grow through some of that? This is kind of some of the pictures of the ribbon cutting that happened, I think a year ago, May or so. I'm trying to remember what it was. And it's a little bit of the publicity. We've got our logo. It's on the front of the building, and it's also in the particular room. Next slide. And so there's some of the things that, basically helped demolish it when it first happened, cleaning things out. Then a contractor came in and set up a stage and a audio room, and now they have places where they can actually go through and work on some of the art. You can see some of the members rehanging some of the pictures and so on like that. And the picture on the right is some of the crew when they actually started tearing stuff up. So, it's how can we help with what we can do, and then bring the professionals in to help finish it and move on with it. Next slide. So basically, the facility repurposed the area, tables, seating, storage. There's a dance floor. There's some mirrors for the kids. So, see how they're doing with dancing. A sound system, recording booth, studios, and stage. Basically, it's been reshuffled so that the kids can come in there. I believe they rotate the kids in from different clubhouses at times to do art education, actually developing things. We actually have a wife of one of our members, Cindy Robertson, has actually started working with art and so on with the kids probably 3 or 4 years ago, if not longer. And Tom was actually, I think he was on the board. I don't know if he was president of the group at one point in time, but that's kind of our relationship. And it's even been taken to the point when we had COVID this summer, and the clubhouse was taking care of some of the little ones that were kids from first responders and so on like that. We kicked in and the club bought pizzas and lunches and so on like that to help support them with what some of their needs were with the COVID issue, because that's where the kids were showing up. Their parents were off working as essential workers, and how can we rush in and help them and keep things going? So next, I don't know if we're almost out. Yeah, that might have been it. So trying to get us back on time a little bit. Our big issue right now is what's going to happen with the rodeo. We've been doing rodeo for years and years, longer than I can remember. We probably garner between $25,000 and $30,000 off the beer sales. Right now, as one of the club members say, we're keeping our powder dry. We're not really going after any major events. We were looking at helping Yoto as a possibility with their strategic planning and building or some repurposing of an area with them as one possibility. We've also done some work with Integrative Touch for Kids where we could help with what their efforts are going forward. We don't look at the funding necessarily to go to one say $20,000, $30,000 chunk a year, but how do we use this over 2, 3, 4 years on a larger go big or go home type project? What's our big idea that everybody can get behind? And we know that we're working towards it over a period of 2 or 3 years. And that seems to have been more successful for our club with the funding and people engaged and knowing this is where we're headed for, kind of engaged. And then as we work towards it each year, you know, as the months go by, how can we help that particular entity out, you know, on a quarterly basis or something like that to grow. Not to say that we don't do international projects. We've done quite a bit with kids down south of the border, and we're coordinating a grant from Canada through us down to Mexico for another effort for some needs in the medical community. So it's keeping our powder dry and trying to figure out what the heck's going to happen for sure. We've got the funding that we basically earned last February and March, kind of sitting there and waiting to see what happens going forward. And depending on that, looking at a strategy to figure out what we're going to do probably over the next couple of years. So.
Very good, very good. Well, thank you, Paul. I think you may be getting some good ideas today for things to think about in terms of projects for the future. I want to go back to the funding of the center, the Arts Center. It was a total of $50,000, but if you could speak to a little bit more about how those funds came together, because I think it was around half of it came from the beer sales, but how did the club come up with the other funds?
If I remember right, the beer stuff, we picked the project back in a couple years ago, and we had 1 year of beer sales, and we held on to that knowing what our ultimate goal was 50,000. Then I think it was a combination of a couple years of beer sales, and then we had an internal kind of drawing and raffle of club members, like $100 a ticket, and you win, you know, split the pot or something like that. That they raised another maybe 10,000. I don't remember how much they came out of that one. That was like the third piece of it. So we kind of saved the money up over a couple years to go there, because we picked the effort that we wanted to chase after we had looked at actually 3 different proposals that fit with our strategy of helping the kids and so on like that. And then we figured, how can we get there to that end result? We had a goal of having it funded by paying the whole thing off by the end of December of 2019. And I think we got it done a little bit before then, the full funding. There was a little concern, are we going to get there? But it was over a couple years worth of time and just other raffles and people kind of kicking in and such with what's going on.
I sort of set you up on that, Paul, seeing how I wanted to also point out that, you know, we did have a good sized gift from one of our members to the project, but we also sought a district grant for that.
Okay.
And
I
Barbara.
don't know all the pieces. I know it was tough to get all the monies together, though.
Oh yeah, we were piecing it together, and so Barbara Kiernan was instrumental in helping us, and Bob Delaney, and seeking a district grant for that, and to do some, because there's some curriculum and so forth beyond just the facility. There are courses and programs going on, of which we were sponsoring as well. What about the publicity? Did we get much publicity out in the community after?
I was going to say, yeah. Actually, in the fall Tucson Business, there's a page article about Tom Robertson and his wife Cindy got an award from them, but Catalina Rotary and this particular space was covered very very much, quite a few times. I think it's like a page 123 or something in Tucson Biz. We got the logo and so on, some of the paperwork through the year that we did that. Like I say, it's the Catalina Rotary Center for Creative Arts, is the name of the space. The logo, when you drive by Grant, look to the north and you'll see the Rotary logo, I believe, on the front of the building. So yeah, we've got quite a bit with that. It's there.
Great, great. Terry, any questions for Paul?
Yeah, we have a couple. Did you have any actual press releases that your club did? And if so, did you get them published in the Arizona Daily Star?
We probably tried. I don't know that we were successful. Depends on how busy and what the news events are of the day. Usually what happens with that. That's one area that we're probably a little bit weak in, that we need to reinforce as far as a publicity person. So yeah, it's there. We've pushed it, and I know it's on our Facebook, it's on our webpage, and so on like that with what's going on, the pictures of the event and such. But again, we're probably a little weak in that area.
Did you collaborate on any part of it with any other Rotary clubs, or was this strictly a Catalina project?
This was at this point. This was pretty much a club or club specific project. One thing I'm debating about, and I think the board may be a little bit, is looking at how, if we do go with the rodeo, how do we may have to find additional volunteers for some of that, and there may be some opportunities for collaboration and splitting of some of the funding if we do go to the beer sales going forward, if it does happen.
Has this project given you any opportunities to recruit new members to your club?
It does, getting them involved with it. I don't know that we actually pick anyone up through that, but it was, it reaches out to the community, and a lot of people are actually see what the results of what's going on with it. So yes, or just even coming and helping with some of the demo. We try to work in anything we do, go out and grab other folks. You want to go have some fun and do some service out there in the community. So
do you feel like the project has strengthened your club?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've probably been doing stuff with the Boys and Girls Club as long as I can remember. It's just everybody kind of knows it's behind it. You see the kids, you see the benefits. They have some art sales projects. I mean, it's different world these days. But the kids and seeing what they've been able to do from the artistic side of their development has been wonderful. And and we keep getting plugged in. Like I say, helping them with art supplies, helping them with food during COVID, for lunches, just anything we can do. So it continues to give back. Another thing that we looked at that's kind of a spin-off is Yodo, and which is, those might not know, is youth on their own. Basically, they look for a place they don't have place to necessarily live and so on. They're out there by themselves, but it's a natural tie a lot of times with Boys and Girls Club on how they can support things. So yeah, everything we do is with kids, and if you can see and make the little faces light up a little bit, I think it gets everybody engaged.
Okay. Anita, Michael Drake asks for you to explain what a district grant is, for those who may not know.
Isn't Michael kind? I did want to make one more comment about Paul's presentation in terms of one of the aspects that a club is able to use is depending on how visible the organization is. And in a large community like Tucson, the Boys and Girls Club, they have their own publicity mechanism. And so one of the things that we did with the club is to take advantage of that. And so a lot of the news releases were written jointly. Or if you're working with, the University of Arizona, and we work with the nursing school, they can jointly write publicity. So sometimes the clubs don't have to necessarily be, have that person in place that writes the release, but can jointly write one with an agency that has a little bit more in, in with the publications and so forth. District grants. Well, district grants are provided obviously by the district, and where the funds for the district grants really comes from, many of you probably know, from the contributions to the annual fund. The annual fund is the share fund, and those dollars go back to Rotary International, and they hold them for 3 years. Those in fact, Kevin will probably speak to some of this better than I at some point. But the funds, the interest from that help to keep Rotary International operating. But the dollars, 50% of what we contribute to the annual fund in 3 years returns to the district. And it is those funds that the district then decides on how they will be distributed, whether they, how much goes to global grants and how much goes to the district grants. And the district grants are those to the local communities that clubs can pursue. I think our limit has been $6,000 this year that a club could seek, and it's a matching grant. So that if you are needing, I think, I forgot who I was speaking to, maybe it was Michael, or Bill, that they had to have $10,000. And so they pursued $5,000 in a district grant and made a match of $5,000. And there are requirements for the project. You can take the course on grant on the grant management course and learn a little bit more about that. But it is not really that difficult to apply for a district grant. It's pretty straightforward, and there are a lot of people that are available to help you with applying for district grant. How many of you have gotten district grants? Let's see some hands out there. So I'm talking to the choir somewhat and the process. So
I know your alarm went off, but we do have one last question that I think is worth bringing up.
sure.
Have you thought about displaying the kids' artwork in local public gathering places like restaurants as a way of getting more PR for your club and for the art center, or even auctioning off the kids' artwork?
They actually have. They had a thing up at La Cantata before, like last November, December, where the kids actually made all kinds of artwork as a fundraiser for that particular effort that they have at the club. So that happens. We haven't done anything as far as that. That's kind of more the Boys and Girls Club's effort with the kids. But it does. We were engaged with the auction and the display. I think everything sold out. I mean, there was a picnic table that was painted up and all kinds of neat stuff that the kids had actually created during the year for that. And you see their excitement when their stuff gets sold. So yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Very good. Well, I think I have done a pretty good job here in keeping us moving along, if I must say so myself. But I tell you what, great presentations, and how much we appreciate all of you sharing the information about your clubs. And make sure that you put your contact information as well in the chat box, so that if anyone wants to contact you directly and ask down the road a question and has a suggestion for you, that they can reach you. That would really be great. So I think that our program calls for, I know what I want to do, because I think District Governor Diane would really like for me to mention a couple of other collaborative projects. And Diane, please chime in. She wanted to point out the work of the Old Pueblo Club. And I think she was saying Pat Kerr was going to be here. Is Pat?
Here, he's here.
Okay. Could just briefly, like in a minute and a half, tell us about how you've pivoted with your project during this COVID environment.
Thanks, Anita. So real quick, I mean, everyone is having great, hopefully great luck and change with their respective annual projects. So we kind of kept it simple. Everyone has moved to the, virtual world of Zoom. Our big fundraiser is an annual poker tournament. We get about 100 players. So we wanted to stay with that theme, but we went online. So we went from a fall poker tournament to an online poker tournament. So we're actually going to host ours most likely in the April timeframe. So everyone's become Zoom friendly. So it made it easy. So in staying on the line, that theory, we also moved to an opportunity where we're going to do bingo, online bingo. So we're trying to find opportunities for raise money in this situation we are when we're sitting in the same room every day and have fun with our members. Our members have come very affluent with Zoom, and so they're excited about it. So we did a test run of our bingo last month just to make sure, and it was a freebie, and it worked out very, very well. We had about 14, 15 members show up and just had a great time over lunch to prove that we can do it. We handed out some simple gift cards as winners, and we sent that through the mail. Also, things you look for opportunities, and Jennifer from the Tucson Club, their club reached out to hopefully every club to have an opportunity to sell tickets, and we did that. We took that opportunity, raised money through kind of grabbing on the back of the Tucson Club and selling tickets to our members and also friends and family. And so we raised money that way as well. So, but again, for us is as you say, Anita, pivoting. We pivoted to stay on the Zoom in this kind of a condensed world of Zoom. We leveraged that capability. So, and it's turned out to be a very good little fundraisers for us. And obviously, continuing to have fun. We do monthly fundraisers for 50-50 raffles, and we do that with our club members as well. So it's all about raising money quickly and easily in simple terms in this difficult time. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you sharing that, and for mentioning the effort that the Tucson Club provides as well for each of us. And Jennifer and Chad, did you you switched your names around? I'm going what? But Jennifer, I hope that your program today with the car raffle went well or is going well.
It starts this afternoon, so I'll be I might have to tap out a little bit early to head to the direction over to the Gregory School where we're having a Rotarian event.
Okay, great.
To draw the ticket.
Okay.
But
so
we're pleased with the online sales for sure. We have better numbers than we were hoping for.
Oh, super. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. I also wanted to mention a collaboration that is taking place between, I guess it's Benson and the, what do I want to say?
Mountain Empire.
Empire. I'm looking at this going, and I don't want to say that. Mountain Empire Rotary Club. I did see, I think it's Sue was on, and if anyone wanted to speak to that a little bit. Sue, are you? I know you're not.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Our president, our club president is also here. Reba Weber's here. This is just in the beginning, but annually our club had for the past, I don't want to say 15 years, 20 years has done. Our big fundraiser was always a golf tournament down at Keno Springs. Well, Keno Springs in Nogales is closed. So we reached out to the Benson Club, and they have a golf course right along I-10 there. And we're going to join forces with them and figure that splitting the profits better than no profit. So we're excited to work with Benson, and I think some of our Benson Club, Jim, you're here. Some of our Benson Club members are also here. So we're excited to partner with them. And the only other thing that I wanted to share, just to brag a little bit about our region, is the Sunrise Run that was virtual, that was very successful. And I know Joe's here. That turned out to be a really successful event for them. We're in the middle of it this month, but those virtual runs are becoming, you see them all over the internet.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Sue, for sharing. And with that, I think it's probably time for a little break. How about that? We're gonna give you about 5 minutes stretch, do whatever, and don't go too far. Okay, we'll be right back.
Okay. Our next speaker is Kevin Padilla. He is the Regional Rotary Foundation Coordinator for Zone 26, and he has kindly agreed to share some thoughts with us today. He's been a governor, an assistant governor, a district conference chair, a district foundation chair, and he's been involved in general sessions at the Rotary Institutes. He's a very experienced foundation guy, and I want to thank him for agreeing to share with us today, and I will turn it over to Kevin wherever he is.
All right, thank you very much. Let me see if I can get this slideshow to start. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm mute.
You're good.
Okay. I want to thank Diane and Terry for inviting me to come and speak with you today about our Rotary Foundation. It's something that's very near and dear to my heart. I've been involved in Rotary for almost 15 years, but I really do enjoy our foundation and what our foundation is able to accomplish. So first I want to get up a little bit further on what Diane brought up in the beginning about virtual fundraising. The director, Dorita Solari, put together a task force of current governors, and they put together some really good information. And so if you look here, this is the website of the Zone 26 and 27. And if you hover over virtual library, you can see what pops up, and then it says the virtual fundraising resources. And if you click on that, this is what you'll find, and you'll be able to open each one of those. And it has a lot of really solid information that was put together by the current governor class of 30 governors. So just gathering information from all over the Big West to help out with virtual fundraising, since truly that's been a huge problem, obviously, with the COVID-19. Most clubs, well, not most, all clubs have not really been able to do their normal fundraising activities. So this is a very big need, and I think if you were to go in and utilize some of this information, it really would put you ahead of the game. So I've had a lot of people ask me, well, what is the actual effect of COVID-19 on the Rotary Foundation fundraising? You can see here that our annual fund giving compared at the same time last year to this year is down about almost 7%. Polio Plus funds have really had a huge hit, and we're down there 28%, and the endowment fund is down. Other funds have been increasing to help us. And what's other funds? If you look there on, I guess it doesn't say there on the bottom what other funds. The other funds are funds that are given for global grants and also specific funds, such as if you want to give just to water and sanitation or peace, those kind of things. That's what other funds are. So we need to remain positive and continue to ask for support of our Rotary Foundation. As you all know, and what all the speakers have talked about today has been, you need to ask for the funds to be donated to your club so that you'll be able to do the projects that you really want to try to get. So I wanted to show you a little bit about how District 5500 has been doing in their fundraising. And this fundraising analysis is available for every single club. So your individual clubs is available. And in the individual club fundraising analysis, it'll give you your membership numbers over the last 5 years. There's about 40 data points on these reports. And I think they're really important to help with goal setting and those kind of things. But you can see that last year, the annual fund giving for your district was the highest as that it's been the last 5 years. That's what's, if the blue numbers indicate the high for the last 5 years, and your Polio Plus giving was the highest it's been in the last 5 years. Not by much, but by a little bit to get you up there. So, I mean, this is a very giving district. We need to continue those trends. So let's talk about district designated funds. And Anita said I might talk a little bit more about that, so I will here. District designated funds are, you give your money this year to the annual fund, and 3 years hence, half of those funds come back to the district for them to be able to utilize in global grants and obviously district grants. So half of the funds are available for district grants. And then if you look at this report, it shows you what you got back. It's 119,000. And then it talks about the carry forward. So if all the funds are not utilized every year, which is normal, the funds will carry over into the next year. And then it shows here that you have 3 global grants that are in process. You have 2 that have been submitted, and you have 2 that are in draft. And it'll give you at the bottom your unallocated DDF balance is estimated 145,000, which is somewhat normal. Most districts don't like to see their numbers get below 50,000. So you guys are doing really well in this area. So let me talk a little bit about the district grants. There are 540 districts in the world, thereabouts, that kind of fluctuates. And there's 540 different ways of handling the use of the district designated funds. Half of what comes back to the district is available to use for district grants. And this is where you do the hands-on work in the community. You talked about the Boys and Girls Club, a lot of great projects that are done, fighting hunger, and partnering with other clubs to make an even larger impact. I don't know specifically how your district uses district grant funds, but it sounds like it's a matching program, which is what most districts do. And they're able to get some pretty good projects going in the community to help you not only help in the community, but it also helps you bring in new members. I think this is a focus of bringing in new members. That is a focus that we're losing out on in a lot of ways. I think that you know, if clubs were to really concentrate on getting people to come, but also following up with them to become members of their clubs, I think this is the most underutilized area of what we do, because the district grants doing stuff in your community, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to create partnerships and bring members into your club if it's a priority and you make it a priority in your clubs. Let's talk about global grants. You saw earlier how many global grants that your district has going. It would be nice to see, obviously, more global grants going. I believe that what we do with the Rotary Foundation is we create a great value to retaining members in your clubs. If you've never been on a global grant, it's amazing what our funds can do. 2 years ago, I went down to Guatemala to see a global grant that my club had gotten involved in. And it's like one of the first global grants that we've gotten involved in many years on a water and sanitation project where we put bathrooms and clean water filters into 19 schools in a rural area of Guatemala. And you go down and you see those faces of those kids and the celebrations that they have of having clean water and bathrooms. And you look at where we are in this country, and I know that there are a lot of great needs in this country, but we don't have any problems compared to what some of these third world countries have. So I encourage you to participate in a greater way in global grants. And I know that obviously you guys are very close to Mexico, and we do a lot of grants down there also to help with those people in the rural areas. So let's talk about polio. I know you guys are having a World Polio Day next Saturday that Michael Drake is putting together. Hopefully you'll be able to join that to see where we are and what's going on in the world. I'm not going to talk to a great length about polio, but I will talk briefly about the two countries that we're still working on, and that's in Pakistan and Afghanistan. As of this morning, we have 77 cases in Pakistan and 52 cases in Afghanistan. I guess the best news I can tell you is that Pakistan's government has given their word that they will get down to 0 by the end of 2021. This is the first time that we've had them say that they're going to do it, but this is the first time that and working with the government there, that we really feel as Rotarians that we feel that they're really going to get it done this time because they are so very much committed to making sure that there are no cases in Pakistan by the end of 2021. But I'll let Michael and your group talk a little bit more about polio at next Saturday's event. I'm sure there'll be a lot of great information there. I did want to talk a little bit about two things. The change in the global grant funding, where the Rotary Foundation is no longer matching the club fund at 50%. So now rather than 3.5 to 1, it's only going to be 3 to 1 of growing of your funds. Really the reason for this is that there are a lot more grants than there were 2-3 years ago. And so there's just not enough funds in the kitty to match the club's 50% by 50%. I'm talking to Brenda Cressy, our foundation trustee that's assigned to our area. She indicates that we really would need to increase our funding or our giving to the Rotary Foundation for that to be brought back. So I know that a lot of people are really upset about it. But it's really a sign that we're suffering from our own success by doing bigger and better grants around the world. And then the second point is supporting the environment is going to be the 7th area of focus. So they'll be able to do global grants in this area starting July 1 of 2021. There'll be a lot more detailed information coming out about this new area of focus. And I think I was told in April. At this point, over the last 5 years, we have done $18 million of global grants and supporting the environment. So I think it's a pretty exciting thing. I know that the trustees recently went through the 6 areas of focus and changed a little bit of the wording. But having this new environment area of focus, I believe, will help us all in continuing forward. So with that, I want to open it up for questioning. Here's my contact information. As indicated, I'm your Regional Rotary Foundation Coordinator. I have all kinds of information I can help you with. I work, very well with Terry and Diane to help them reach their goals. But if there's anything you think I can help you with, or if you'd like me to come and speak to your club, I'd be happy to do that. At this point, with virtual meetings, it's real easy to do for me. So are there any questions out there?
I did get one. Someone has asked if you could repeat how the global grant funding has changed and give an example.
Okay, sure. So if a club wants to do a global grant, they need to have a $30,000 minimum grant. And let's say you come up with $10,000, the club were to come up with $10,000 or a group of clubs. So with that $10,000, hopefully your district will match that with DDF. So that would make it 20,000. And then the Rotary Foundation World Fund matches the district's 10,000. So that makes it 30,000. And it used to be that the World Fund would match half, $5,000 of the club's cash to make it a $35,000 grant. So at this point, the World Fund will no longer match half of the club's cash at the end of that. So if you raise 10,000, you can do a $30,000 grant or get a series of clubs together, which is better to get to the 10,000 so that you can get to the minimum size of a grant.
Okay, thank you. I think
Are we
Ray,
ready
we're
for our
ready
next?
for you.
Our next speaker is Assistant Rotary Public Image Coordinator for our zone, Randy. The best introduction is he's well noted for a video he put together called No Bull, which really goes into some descriptions of the Rotary branding initiative. And with that, Randy, are you set to go?
I should be unmuted. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Good? Okay, I'm going to start my slideshow. And good morning, and thank you for letting me be on your presentation today. And how do I switch the screen here? And let's see why it won't do it. I think I have to be allowed to share the screen.
Let me share it for you, Randy.
Okay. Is that it? Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, good morning. So, you know, the title of your session today is Survival Guide. And I guess I'd ask you, would, you know, knowing CPR be good for survival? Okay, we're not switching to my screen. That's your screen, right?
That's correct.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Well,
So
we'll
just-
go. Let's switch then. That's fine. Okay. Can we switch the slide?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how many of these, you know, areas that you've talked about this morning would be impacted? You know, would public image have an impact on? I think, you know, all of them. I would guess. I mean, you know, service. You want to tell your story. You want to learn. You want to teach people. Public image has an impact in all of those areas. Next slide. So what is CPR? It's compliance provides results. Complying with the Rotary brand is going to help broaden our message. And, you know, I think we all need to learn CPR to help keep our clubs, our districts, and such alive. And just going to talk about that today. It's just a little fun. By the way, everything I'm about to say is got a little bit of humor in it, if so to speak. So sarcasm's my middle name. If we go to the next slide, you see all these logos, right? Some of these I'm sure you see every day. Most of them are, you know, instantly recognizable. You might purchase from these people. But one thing to notice is they don't change. They don't go to their employees and say, hey, what do you think about John Deere? Let's print it in red today. It doesn't happen. It won't happen. John Deere and green and yellow are pretty synonymous with one another. They don't change for the location. I mean, they might have an identifier, but there's no, they don't make up their own logo if they're in Tucson or Reno, Nevada, where I'm at today. If we go to the next slide. Rotary, on the other hand, we're kind of all over the place. I mean, we've got, these are what we call in the public image team, the wall of shame. And I apologize if anybody's involved with any of these clubs or areas, but there's the old logo in the upper left corner. Looks like it compressed some of the text, but the lady's wearing a old 2-color logo. That logo's gone. Quit using it. Stop using it. It's not authorized anymore. Same thing with the Moore Park Beer Festival. It doesn't quite tell our story. I've actually seen clubs using the Rotary theme logo as their Facebook page identifier. And, maybe we know what that is, but if you think of not this year, but last year, the Be the Inspiration logo, it doesn't even say the word Rotary in it. So, use our Rotary logo correctly. This is a real issue. I've got tons of examples of bad logos or old logos. One thing to be really careful of that I caution you on is when you get a new member, and I don't know what District 5500 is like, but ours is, hey, let's get this person engaged. Let's get them involved in something. So what happens? We say, hey, Sue, Bob, would you mind being on the whatchamacallit committee, the bike ride, the golf tournament? And what happens? The guy or gal that's been doing it gives the new person all the PDFs and the Word documents from last year. And guess what we do? We perpetuate the wrong logo for the 12th year in a row. And we just keep doing that. So the time to look is whenever you're doing a new project. That's a time to ask, is my branding correct? Is my branding up to date? Or whatever you're redoing or doing last year's project over again, if it's an annual project, now's the time to take a look and ensure that your branding's good. So if we can move on. I guess in a normal session, I'd ask for somebody to read this, but I'll do it since we're here. A brand promise is our value or experience an organization stakeholders can expect to receive every single time they interact with the organization. The more we can deliver on the promise, the stronger the brand becomes. Let's go to the next slide because I want to translate. This is my version. When I log on to your website, your Facebook page, or see one of your promotional flyers, I should see Rotary. Everything should scream that this is a Rotary event. As I took over this position of public image person, it just blew me away. My goal was, 3 years ago when I started this, wow, I'm going to get every club in my district using the right logo. I'm going to get, they're all going to be up to date and on top of it. And after about a year and a half of that, I kind of changed it. It's like, God, it would be really nice if they just used a logo, right? Even the one Paul Harris started with in 1900 whatever would be helpful. I mean, there are so many examples and you don't need to look too far, no offense, but there's so many examples of clubs that put out a brochure, a flyer, and they literally put no Rotary wheel on it. And that's a shame because y'all do good work. We all do good work. And we want to share that and we want to tell that story. The next slide. This right here, this that you're looking at, this is what your logo should look like. This is called the Rotary Master Brand Signature. Okay. If you have a club, obviously you should have the word, instead of District 5500, the Rotary Club of Tucson or Catalina. I think I saw somebody talking earlier. So whatever your club is, that's where it should be. The 2-color logo, gone. Really, you shouldn't even use the word, the wheel without the word Rotary next to it. The whole idea is that if and I apologize in advance if I get your district mixed up a little bit, but if Tucson does a great project, then that rubs off on the people in Tempe, or that rubs off on the people in Phoenix. I know that's in Arizona. And they see that, and wherever you go, this is the logo you see. It's not, gone are the pickaxes and shovel to celebrate your town's mining heritage, or in my case, Sparks, Nevada is called the Rail City, and we've got old logos floating around with railroad trains and things, and it's not acceptable. How many people think this is our new logo? You want to shake heads or anything? Let me tell you how new it is. It came out in 2012, right? It's not that new. It's time to get over, the new logo. We're done with that. This is our logo. It's not our new logo. And just a little note, if you've ever worked for a corporation, a large company, pardon me, they didn't ask your opinion on what color you wanted to print the logo on, right? I mean, it was, this is the colors, these are what they are, these are acceptable, these are not, I have to admit, I got burned on this a little bit in a previous seminar where we used the McDonald's logo, the golden arches as a logo, and said, they don't turn that upside down, they don't do that. Well, they did. For International Women's Day, they turned it around and made it a W. And they only did it for one day, but that was authorized by corporate. So in this case, if Rotary comes down and says, hey, let's print the logo in pink for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, excellent, go ahead and do it. But they haven't done that. So, it's the idea to keep our logos consistent. Let's move on. The tools. There's tons of tools, but I want to highlight a few. And to be just up front, not going to go into detail. I'm going to give my email address. If anybody would like help with getting access to these tools or having problems with it, please contact me. I'll be happy to take the time. But the first place you should go is the Rotary Brand Center. And that's the place where you can go. If you're not familiar with it, you can create logos, you can create club flyers, you can create press releases, you can create lock-up partner logos. For what that is the Rotary logo on the left and some partnering group, the American Cancer Society on the right. Go to My Rotary. There's some other training materials on there on the My Learning Center. The Zone 2627 website. I noticed on the D5500 website that you have a link to that. There's a lot of good training materials on our zone area. PDF resource guides. There's one book called the PDF guide on the Brand Center called Tell Rotary Stories. That's the one you should get. Look at it, use it, so forth. The No Bull video that Ray mentioned earlier. Now, there's kind of a fun backstory to this video. For those that don't know where this came from, how many people here are familiar with a lady named Vicki Pula? She's now one of our Rotary directors coming up next year. She's in my club and she's been my mentor. She's kind of kicked me in the butt and got me to do things that I didn't know I could do. She's amazing. So a few years ago, she said to me, gosh, people just aren't using the logo correctly. What can we do? Can we do a little video? And I said, I'll try to put something together. I started looking up bad logos on Google and looked around, and I found this one from New York, of all places, from the financial district, where they used the bull as kind of their logo. Okay, and so the bears and bulls and all that stuff and the stock market, and so somehow that morphed into this goofy looking video about don't use a bull for your logo, and that became No Bull, and here's how to use it correctly. So if you haven't looked at it, Ray's got a copy, can get it to you, but it's called the No Bull video. I like to say that it's approved by an RI director, since she helped me make it. So that one's good. And let's move on from that. And we talk about branding. Who's your audience? Is your audience your club members? Is your audience the people you're trying to attract to become your members? It's a little of both, right? In this day and age of COVID, one of the things we're working on in my district up here in Reno is in Northern California and Eastern Nevada and so forth is we want to get more stories from our clubs so that they share with each other and they're more, each club is more available or aware of, oh, the Tucson clubs did that bike ride. That's really cool. You know, that's something we could do. So we're just trying to make our current members be more aware of what's going on. And likewise, we want to tell our story to other people, which I'll get into in the next slide. I want to tell you a personal story about a club in my area. It's not my club. There's the Reno Club of Reno Sunrise. And they have an event called the Edible Pedal. They didn't have it this year because of COVID, so let's put that aside. But it was their largest fundraiser. And I'm friends with a lot of people in the club. And for those that know me up here, one of my hobbies is photography. And I like taking pictures. I'm the guy at the district conference that takes the pictures. And so they asked me if I'd help out. And this was years ago. And then I became the DPIC, the district public image chair. And they said, you know, wow, would you help take pictures of our event? And I said, yes. I didn't say much. I just did it. It's their event, it's not mine. I just took the pictures. If we could go to the next slide, they give out these water bottles. Ann Huber, I'm looking at your face. Would you mind telling me what's wrong? I'm putting you on the spot with this water bottle.
I'm so sorry. Let me get back to the screen.
I'm sorry to pick on you, but I had to pick on somebody.
No, that's okay. Let me get back to this. Pardon me. Think we were there?
Slide 12.
And so you are putting me on the spot, Randy, and that's okay. I'm trying to.
This is a Rotary event, Ann.
It is a Rotary event. There's no possible way I would know that based
Right,
on
because
what
there's
I'm
no Rotary
seeing.
wheel anywhere on this water bottle that they printed up 1,000 or so of them and give them to every rider that comes to the event. And they did this for years. They invited 1,200 people to this bike ride and not one stinking Rotary wheel anywhere on the giveaway, right? Now, I've gotten permission to kind of make fun of them because they're friends. So don't go back to them and say, hey, the public image guy was giving them a bad time. But literally invite 1,200 so people into your house once a year and don't ask them if they want to be a Rotarian, or don't put a Rotary wheel on the box. They've since fixed this, by the way. That's now been addressed, and they're doing a better job with the marketing that they did for the final year before it died out with COVID. But they're coming back, hopefully. How do I say it? You know, kind of amazing that they got through it, you know. But let me tell you the personal side of this story, why that Rotary wheel's so important on there. We know it's a good bike ride. We know they raised $60,000. We know that they did, you know, they know they did that. They've got all that stuff. Pardon the expression, they've drank the Kool-Aid. They're Rotarians. They're already on the bus, right? Here's something. Well, first off, this should scream Rotary. So after volunteering for the event, you know, for many years, my wife and I'd get in the car, we drive 100-something miles and we do the whole route and take pictures. And I'm literally hanging out the car and, you know, making a fool of myself. They asked me to speak at their club. And here's what I told them. I volunteer for their event, not because I'm a Rotarian. I volunteer for their event, not because I'm the district public image guy. I volunteer for their event because unbeknown, well, they know this part, but they didn't know that I knew this. They have sponsored my son's Boy Scout troop where he became an Eagle Scout. They help someone I love. I would have volunteered for this event even if I wasn't a Rotarian. And that's the kind of reason, that's the reason why that logo is so important. They don't do a really good job of telling everybody they sponsor our sons, our Boy Scout troop. I knew that internally, but they didn't. Again, most of the family members in the Boy Scout troop don't know that. They don't know who our sponsor is. They might have heard it. They haven't made the connection. And so when you think about, especially in COVID times, going out and asking people for money, wouldn't it be helpful if they said, oh, Rotary, yeah, my daughter went to your camp. I would love here's $50, here's $100, as opposed to what typically happens with donations is, I'm going to go to my life insurance guy, my finance guy, and I say, hey, I rolled my IRA over to you. It'd be really nice if you bought this stupid raffle ticket. And then a month later, he or she calls me up and says, hey, my club's doing this thing, and maybe you'd like to buy a ticket. I think people buying out of love because of all the good things that Rotary does would be much better. Let's move on. Got some real quick slides here. This slide's great. This tells a story, Rotarian at work, we're transforming. What about this slide? Next one. Okay, this is a joke, but I don't know who these people are, by the way. I did not take this picture, but sometimes it's like, maybe that's good for us, but I don't know. It doesn't really say a whole lot. Let's go to the next slide. What about this one? I like this one a lot better. I'm seeing some heads nodding up and down, while wearing Rotary shirts. It's pretty obvious that they probably built or cleaned up this park somehow, or, did something. It talks a lot better about who we are as Rotarians. Next slide. Is this the public image you'd really like to have? I'm sorry to, as people laugh. Again, if that's your mom or somebody in that photo, I really apologize. I don't know who they are, but it's, be careful about the type of pictures would you want to join that club? Let's go to the next slide and, basically just learn CPR, be compliant with Rotary branding guidelines so that every interaction you have gives, the people, either your own club members or district members and the external people, they need to know that Rotary built that park or Rotary painted that sign at the entry to the city or whatever. So thank you. I guess I have one slide last that says thank you. So if you can email me, I'll put that in the chat.
Well, Randy, I have a lot of requests for copies of your presentation, and also a lot of requests for copies of No Bull that I'll send out to people.
Is there a way for me to get one slide up on the screen on my side? I don't know how to do that, but I had a little fun this morning, and it's not on mine, and I wanted to.
We've given permission to everybody to share the screen, so you should be able to do it.
Okay. All right. So I logged on early this morning and was just listening in, and I noticed that one of your DGNs, or one of your DGN, is named Anita McDonald. Anita, I apologize in advance for what I'm about to do to you, but we had a district governor a couple years ago named Doug McDonald. And I want to use this slide to explain why branding is so important. How many people have ever had food at McDonald's? I think the answer is probably everybody. What about Doug McDonald's? Okay, we mashed this up together. This is our district governor from a few years ago. It's a Taco Bell, but we've got a clown. He's the goofy clown from one of the scary movies, right? It's not the same as Ronald. We've got Burger King signage, but with Doug's face in the middle. That's really a Taco Bell location, but we've got an In-N-Out burger, but it says McDonald's burger in the middle. It's a McDonald's. Who wouldn't be comfortable eating here? if you pulled in and saw something like this, all kidding aside, your first thought might be, there's something wrong with that McDonald's. I don't know what the heck they did, but that's a messed up looking McDonald's, right? So
this McDonald can't see it.
The screen sharing is not working. It's your background and that's all.
Oh, I'm not sharing. Okay, well, hold on here. Let's try. Let's see. Oh, boy.
Gotta find where you have that image. Do you have it in a folder or something?
Let's see here.
Well, if you send it to me, I can make sure it gets distributed to everyone.
Yeah. So I apologize. Well, it's, oh, wait a minute. There it is. I think I can do it. How about that?
There you go.
Now, would you eat there? Anita's going, no. That's a real district governor, by the way, Anita. So we, you know, when you get to be that high up, you get picked on a little bit. But the idea being is McDonald's does a really good job of branding. And when you pull into a McDonald's, you feel comfortable knowing it's the same as the one 100 miles down the street. It's the same as the one in Phoenix and Tucson. You know, you're going to get the consistent quality, but this one's not giving me the warm fuzzy. So anyway, now I pulled that audible this morning when I saw your name. I was looking through the participants and thought, you know, I wouldn't eat there. And likewise, when you go to a Rotary club, but it's not easily identified as a Rotary club, maybe what is it, a Rotary club or is it another club? I don't know. So same concept. So thank you so much. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it.
Any questions?
No questions came up on the chat
Okay.
room. Only a lot of requests for the presentation.
Cool.
And no
you.
bull that I'll get
No
distributed.
bull. Okay.
Ann?
Great. Well, it's my turn to take over. First of all, I want to thank all of our participants, Randy, Kevin, Paul, Sarah, Jim, Bill. You put a lot of work into the presentations. You've given us a lot of great information. I am thinking, I know I feel that way. A couple of things that I would just like to summarize. I know District Governor Diane has been talking to us about thinking outside the box, and she said her word for today was adaptability. And I'm thinking that the programs that you heard about today, for the most part, talked about several things I would just like to highlight. One is that each club saw a need or saw an opportunity to find a need in the community to provide a service project. The members were involved in many cases in determining what the project was and with the hands-on. And why do folks stay in Rotary? In part because of the service they provide and because of the fellowship. And being involved in service projects like that provides both. The service gets, again, the members involved in the community, it gets them excited. So we see hopefully retention and perhaps drawing in new members, as people have talked about. Our projects have various ways of advertising, promoting. Some of the projects, I think our first project has been around the sausage project for over 60 years. Other projects are brand new. So it doesn't matter if you have a 60-year-old project or if you're just starting something new. I think the things that we've talked about today in how to identify them, how to get people involved, helps in all of those ways. Branding is important, and branding correctly is even more important, as we've learned today. And also funding. I love the idea of the pink envelope. I love the idea of being able to get a district grant, a global grant, if your project is a really large one, and asking for funding. So I think that we've incorporated in here what we had hoped to, the 3 essential elements of Rotary: foundation, membership, and public image. We've also talked about how a few clubs are adapting to COVID, and we all have to. I know we all are. So thank you for sharing all of those pieces of information. I was also asked to unashamedly put in a plug for the polio World Polio Day next week. Please register for that by going online to the district conference. And the one other thing that I forgot to mention is that how important collaboration is. We saw the projects are collaborating with community partners, Some are talking about bringing in other clubs to work with them. So partnering and developing relationships in your community, I believe, can help make Rotary more successful. That is my summary, and I have talked too long. I'm keeping you, I'm between you and lunch, I think. But I'd like to turn it back over to District Governor Diane for any final closing remarks. And thank you for moderating, Anita. And there are just so many, and thank you for participating today. Terry, Ray for taking the questions, Liz for getting all the information out, and just everybody who's made this happen today. Diane, I'll be quiet now.
Thanks, Ann. No, I just want to say that this was a real team effort, and we spent a lot of time in working on this. Again, I can't thank everyone enough for attending. And keep in mind, if you have questions after this event, I think everyone knows how to reach out to me, either with email, texting, calling. I'm available. Also, Ray's available. Ann is available. But again, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I think we're 5 minutes past our time.
Just one more comment.
Thank
The
you.
survey will go out either tomorrow or Monday. Please watch for it.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks again, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend.